Episcopal protest chaplain and PhD candidate in American religious history at Harvard, has called the Occupy movement the most liturgical protest in American history. As an emerging faith leader, what about the Occupy movement called you to participate in the movement's public sign acts? For instance, your delivery of a golden calf to Congress.
Well, first of all, let me thank you all for having me here today as an outsider to the Episcopal Church, bringing my own perspective as a friend. I found the question interesting, talking about the liturgy of the Occupy movement, and for me as a Quaker, the word liturgy hadn't occurred to me. Quakers don't have a spoken liturgy, and we don't tend to think in liturgical terms. But I definitely see the truth of it. In reference to the golden calf, as a Quaker, the golden calf was for me a prophetic sign, and that's something that's much more within the Quaker tradition of, in very bold ways, the early Quaker movement did prophetic signs. We went naked in the streets, we walked around with burning coals on our head. We did all kinds of really dramatic and crazy things to draw attention to God's judgment on us fallen culture, and calling the culture back to right relationship with God. And so, for me in the Occupy movement, I feel like I'm standing in that prophetic tradition. And the Occupy movement isn't something that I had on my radar screen before it started at all. In fact, I had broad concerns about social justice and peace, but I did not think of myself as an organizer or an activist. I was just busy doing my job for the seminary I worked for and hoping to plant a church on Capitol Hill. But as I learned more about the Occupy movement, I became increasingly convinced that God wanted me to be involved in this movement. I didn't know exactly what God was doing. I didn't understand exactly what was going on. I think like a lot of people, I was like, well, what's their demand? But I felt like God was calling me to get involved. And so I went up to New York City and got involved in Occupy Wall Street for a little while, came back to Washington, D.C., and ended up being one of the original organizers for Occupy D.C. in McPherson Square. And since then, it's just sort of resonated out from that encampment to where now there are dozens of different organizations that have sprouted as a result of that initial explosion. I'm especially involved in, as you mentioned, Occupy Church, which is a specifically Christian Occupy movement, Occupy Faith, which is interfaith, and Occupy Homes, which is involved in foreclosure resistance. I think what's important for me to remember in the Occupy movement is that my allegiance isn't to a particular party or to a particular political ideology, but instead I and other Christian occupiers are trying to walk in Jesus' way that He's leading us in right now, and being attentive to how the Holy Spirit is guiding us. And there have been so many times when I've wanted to walk away, and there have been things that have happened that I didn't like, and things have not always gone the way that I expected. But I continually felt God calling me back into this movement, into involvement, and commitment to the people who are involved in it, who, whether they're Christians or not, whether they're people of faith or not, I believe that they feel the call of the Holy Spirit in their lives, and that they are being pulled into a more faithful way of living. And I want to be involved in that, involved in empowering ordinary people who never thought they would be involved in this kind of stuff before, because I didn't think I was going to be involved in this. But empowering ordinary people to get involved in a grassroots movement to promote justice and a society in which our economic values are more closely aligned with what I believe God's values are.
Thank you. That's right.
Thank you.